Chris, what is our fourth main topic today?
Our fourth topic comes from Timothy Pence. Greetings, John and team. So, John, I know you didn't like Thor Love and Thunder as much as Ragnarok. And last week you said you didn't see it catching Ragnarok's box office total of $854 million. Well, Love and Thunder has passed $700 million in just 10 days, despite some of the mixed reviews. I want to know if you still think it can't catch Ragnarok or if you think it has a better chance now. Thanks.
All right, Timothy, thanks for sending that in. Now, okay, look, yes, you're right. Over a week ago, we were talking about the box office for Thor Ragnarok, and the question came up and was posed, do I think Thor Love and Thunder can catch the overall box office of Thor Ragnarok? Of course, its opening weekend was bigger than Thor Ragnarok's opening weekend, but did I see it catching the overall box office for Thor Ragnarok? And I said, I say unto thee, nay. Nay, it cannot catch Thor Ragnarok. I said it's going to make a lot of money, but the reality is, you know, as I said over a month ago, the silly sense of humor will not be for everybody. I don't think it has the same rewatchability as Thor Ragnarok did, and I don't see it generating that same reaction for people seeing it going to other people saying, you gotta come watch this, as Thor Ragnarok did. So I said, no, don't see it catch it. Now that said, last night, as I started to put the show notes together for today, I saw a report in Box Office Mojo showing that Thor Love and Thunder had passed $700 million. And in a very bad Scooby-Doo impression, I said, like, maybe my prediction that it can't catch Ragnarok might be wrong. Whoops. Now, then I saw a report out of like Variety saying 500 million. So then I went to Rentrack. Now, for those of you who've never heard of Rentrack, Rentrack is the official global box office data collection organization that everybody gets their information from. When the movie theaters collect their money for box office tonight, they send their report to Rentrack. Now, they don't have an official website. They don't post these numbers, so it's not a problem. But the report coming out of Rentrack was $700 million. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, if Rentrack and Box Office Mojo saving $700 million, so I might have to start explaining why I was so wrong about Love and Thunder not catching Ragnarok. However, this morning, Rentrack and Box Office Mojo updated their information and set it to that $500 million number. So, Timothy, Thor Love and Thunder did not make $700 million in 10 days. It did, however, still get about $500 million in 10 days, which is still impressive, but it allows me to safely still say on my prediction that it will not catch Thor Ragnarok at the box office. Thank goodness. Now, it also took a 68% drop at the box office, which I know a lot of people want to make a big deal out of. To me, it's not batting an eye. That's about the same. That is pretty much exactly the same as what Doctor Strange The Multiverse of Madness dropped. That's about exactly the same as Spider-Man No Way Home dropped. Again, Marvel movies have really become a thing where people who want to see a Marvel movie generally rush out to see it opening weekend. Then it all depends on word of mouth. So the 68% drop, especially for a $140+ million opening, not that terribly unusual. Like you get a Top Gun, which has a much more impressive second weekend drop off, but you know, that's the exception. It's not the rule. So not that big of a deal. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of today's video, Storyblocks. Guys, I have been an enthusiastic fan and user of Storyblocks for years. I go to them whenever I'm in need of content creation assets like royalty-free music, video clips, or templates for my creative projects, ranging anywhere from little editorial videos to my very own full-feature documentary. Storyblocks helps you bring your stories, videos, and projects to life without sacrifices due to time, budget, or access to resources. They have over 1 million different story assets ranging from stock videos, audio and music, an in-browser video editor, and they feature pre-designed templates, animations, and outros. Storyblocks uses an affordable subscription model, and their unlimited access plans offers, well, unlimited video and audio downloads rather than a costly pay-per-clip model. With Storyblocks, you'll be able to create more content and, more importantly, better content, all while using a subscription plan that fits your budget, utilizing unlimited downloads of demand-driven and diverse content. So if you're interested in upping your content creation game, head over to www.storyblocks.com/Campea and get started today. That's www.storyblocks.com/Campea. So ultimately, 500 million in 10 days, you're pretty happy with that. But bottom line is, I still believe I'm going to be totally right, and this thing is not going to catch Thor Ragnarok. It just doesn't have that rewatchability that it has. It's just, in my opinion, it's just not as good of a movie as Thor Ragnarok. So I'm going to sit on that. Anyway, Rob, about 500 million in 10 days, nothing to sneeze at.
No.
It does have a higher second weekend drop number than we're used to seeing from most movies. What's your big takeaway from it?
Look, I think that this movie, as I said, we've talked about it on the show, is unbalanced. I think the humor overshadows the awesomeness, call it that, I don't know. And I think that is problematic because I think that Ragnarok had a really interesting balance of humor and also really weighty themes. This film had really weighty themes too, but the humor, I think, overshadowed that. And I think this needed a little bit more genuine, real emotion and pathos where you weren't laughing all the time. And also Thor was a bit diminished in this movie in terms of the humor. They kind of made him kind of a goof. I didn't believe that this Thor is the same Thor that was in the end of Infinity War and at the beginning of Endgame. I didn't see much of that Thor in this movie. And I think that people they like that balance. Thor can get away with it. When you first meet Thor, he's having with Jane in the first Thor, and he's like drinking out of his glass and smashes it on the ground. I mean, that could go either way, but it worked. It worked for the character to establish, he's a Norse hero and God of Thunder. Why wouldn't he? More grog, wench, smashing the glass down. That was legit humor that I believe came out of the character. This movie skewed. And I think when people go to it, they didn't get out of this movie what they wanted from a Thor movie. It was too goofy. Like you said, we needed more 65-35 in terms of the humor. And I think that's the only problem. And I think that is going to lead to diminished box office in the long run. But it's still, for those haters out there, it's still doing very well.
Oh yeah, it's still doing. I mean, well enough that you actually predicted it would catch Ragnarok.
Yeah, I think it's got a possibility on a global level. But you know what else, John? Humor does not traditionally travel as well internationally, because a lot of humor is colloquial. It's based in the culture that it's. And I think that this film, I would imagine that the international numbers are not going to be as high as they could have been, because a lot of the humor is very much American-based humor. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a problem too.
Again, I was saying before, I thought this thing was going to come in like 65 to 70 something percent. Mm-hmm. It's still sitting at 80% audience rating, which is still surprising to me because, like I said, I like the film. I do.
Yeah, I think
like
people do.
But when I came out of it, I told everybody this thing leans way more into the silly, and I think that's hurting the rewatchability. Anyway, Chris, you see these numbers, about 500 million in 10 days, 68% drop. I mean, what's your takeaway from it?
Well, it is a very typical drop from what we've seen from Phase 4 of Marvel. This is almost the exact same number, like you were saying. So that all makes sense.
Like Shang-Chi had a lower one, but Shang-Chi only made like $78 million in its opening weekend.
And very early days of the pandemic too.
Yeah.
Getting people to theaters was even more difficult than for a brand new character as well, right? So we have all of that. I will say though, the more people I talk to who aren't like hardcore MCU fans, they really enjoyed this.
Yes. I got that same sense.
Yeah, everyone I know who isn't super into it and maybe just need a couple clarifications on things where, I thought this was really fun. I really enjoyed this. I hope they keep going with this with the franchise. Whereas, the people inside our bubble, right, are a bit more, oh man, I mean, it's fine, but it was no Ragnarok and it didn't deliver the emotional impact I wanted. And I'm one of those people too, right? I thought that we kind of wasted the emotional journey of Jane and things like that. So for me, this drop makes sense, but I don't know. With the humor, some people might still stick around.
I mean, but that you made a good point, and I that's something I didn't say, like you just pointed out as well. People outside of the Marvel bubble like this movie more because it's more of a traditional comedy.
Yeah.
So you go to,
that's a good point.
And we haven't been getting traditional comedies in the theater. So people go and they watch this and they're like, wow, this is a big budget fantasy epic comedy. What's not to love? And the people from the MCU, even myself, I'm guilty of this. I wanted something a little bit different.
So again, that's 65-35.
Yeah.
Like instead of 80% silly, 20% serious, I would have liked the more Ragnarokish 65-35 and gone there. So let's update this. So I am clearly, now that we're past the second weekend, it's about 500 million. I still don't think it's going to catch the 800. do you think it's going to catch Ragnarok now?
No.
Okay, so now you're no. Chris,
No, I don't
you
think
are
so.
also now no. Okay, so anyway, there you have it, guys. Questions? Ray's looking for a bet. Ray,
I'm not.
Jonathan.
No.
Also, I just want to say I ended up seeing it a second time yesterday because I had to take one of the girls that didn't get to see it the first time. And I had kept it in mind that everyone was saying, well, when you see it the second time, you're more forgiving or it just works better. And now this won't work if you're going to be like, well, I don't know, I'll go see it again, but I'm a hard sell, so they got to really impress me this time. No. You just go in and just watch the movie with an open mind. I found that after the film ended, I thought to myself, you know
Because you
those
didn't love it the
jokes?
first time you saw it.
What's that?
You didn't love it the first time you saw it.
No, I liked it, and I did feel like, oh, it was imbalanced. Okay, the second time I watched it, like my brain was trained or something, and I was more accepting. Like the comedy kind of washed over me a little gentler, and which I will say with the comedy genre, the more you watch it, the more you become like more open to it. Like especially if you're getting to like
That's true.
If you're getting into stuff like Monty Python and stuff, the more you watch it, the more your brain kind of gets trained into like their stream of consciousness jokes. It literally just kind of washed over me, and I wasn't so taken aback, and I found my mind was more focused on like Jane's struggle with cancer and the darker elements. And it literally felt, and this was not me just saying like, well, I'm going to change my mind about it. Like when I walked out of the theater, I thought, wow, that actually feels a little more balanced. And the comedy, I understood it better. It might be one of those movies that you have to watch it a couple more times. I mean, it's just how it works. I mean, I even thought like, wow, there was even some like, and I know I'm going too long, but just quickly, the first scene where he kills that first god, it felt like a Terry Gilliam film with that sun god. Even the way it was acted,
You know what?
It
That's
totally-
a perfect
yeah.
example.
it felt like a Terry Gilliam film. I'm like, oh my God. Like I started noticing more nuances in that like directorial, like what he was going for. I'm saying just go in with a little more of an open mind. If you want to just stream it next time, whatever, that's fine. It works the more you watch it.
I will say that while I still don't think it compares to Thor Ragnarok, I mentioned on the show that I actually liked it a little bit more the second time I saw it. Just to go with what you're saying, Jonathan, I did like it a little bit more the second time I saw it than when I saw it the first time. I mean, so there could be, again, I still don't think it's Ragnarok level, but it is what it is. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Thor Love and Thunder has hit about, as of today, it has crossed $500 million, has crossed $500 million in about 10 days. What do you think about that? Do you think it's going to catch Thor Ragnarok? We asked you that last week. We'll allow you to change your prediction now that you've seen the second week numbers. Do you think it still can catch Thor Ragnarok? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.